Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi Leah. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. Welcome back.
So before we proceed with the video, please, I just want to state that this video is strictly for educational purposes. Please do not search out the person or the people that I talk about in this video. Do not send them any kind of hate, threats, violence, hate speech. This channel does not support any of that.
So today's video, we're going to be unveiling another coon. See, I don't think we're ever going to not have a coon to talk about on this channel, because some black people will just be disappointing me. Anyway, I came across this video, and before I say anything, let me just play his video.
This one's gonna get rough, okay? I am here to rebuke the black people who live in 2023, in the 21st century, and talk about slavery constantly as if it happened to you, as if you were on some slave ship somewhere, as if you were on some plantation somewhere. You who hasn't even lived 40 years. You who doesn't even remember what life before the internet looked like. You who lives in the softest, most comfortable age in the history of the human race. You who lives in rich countries with rights and opportunities that most human beings on this earth cannot even fathom. And you spend your life crying daily about slavery as something that had nothing to do with you. Some of you even want free money, right? Somebody should come and give you free money because some person who had nothing to do with you was enslaved in Cuba 400 years ago. Shut up and sit down. I hear this crap all the time. And listen, if any one of you wants to come and deal with me on this one, bring it. I want all the smoke with you. You know who you want, right? You, yeah, slave, bring it. Shut up and sit down.
It no longer shocks me when I see people that say things like this. It's not far-fetched that some people think like this. I mean, funny enough, I've actually had conversations with people that think like this, and I can hear an accent in the way he spoke, so it's obvious that he's not African American. And now, I'm not saying it's only non-African Americans that are coons, because of course, even on this channel, I've talked about some African Americans that are coons, right? But you see, I'm not making excuses or anything, but it's understandable why someone who is not African American does not understand the plight and the struggles of African Americans, even when they are black. A black person might not understand the impact of slavery or how bad it was, and the whole fight for equality and reparations and all of that goes on in the US with African Americans. You know, I can understand how they would not understand that. It takes the extra effort to educate yourself. And that is why when you're not very conversant with a subject, when you don't really know something, keep quiet, because you just say rubbish and make a fool out of yourself. And a lot of people definitely had a lot of replies for this man. Let me play the replies.
I am here to rebuke the black people who live in...
No, because I'm here to rebuke you and your barber for doing your mother hairline like that. That's what I'm here to rebuke. You and your motherfucking barber. You're sitting right here saying, and in America, y'all complain too much. And so, and the should complain, because we're the ones who built this motherfucking countries from head to fucking toe. We were stolen from our land, bought here against our own will. Imagine getting up like 7 days a week, working from sun up to sundown in the motherfucking southern heat in America with no water, no mother food, you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't do any motherfucking thing until you're done picking cotton and shit. Just imagine that shit for a moment. Then just imagine, like, if you're not doing it right, you're gonna get whipped, beaten, hung. Imagine that shit. Then after slavery, we had Jim Crow segregation, where they still helping day in and day out. Think about police brutality. Think about having a religion and your beliefs beating the f out of you along with your language. Imagine not being able to buy a certain type of home in Jim Crow due to the color of your skin. Because this shit is still going on today, baby. This stuff was not long ago. They're hyping it up, saying that it was 400 years ago. And you don't know any motherfucker. Slavery was still well going on here in America well after 1865. My great grandmother, she was born in the year 1900. My great grandmother didn't die until 2001. I was born in 1995, and my great grandmother actually lived to the 21st century, and my great grandmother was a descendant of slaves. Just imagine you putting in all of that work to build a country that does not accept you. And then after so-called slavery that quote unquote happened 400 years ago, just imagine because of the color of your skin, you cannot get accepted into certain universities in certain spaces, or you don't have certain type of job opportunities because of the color of your skin. So we had to actually go out here and to create our HBCUs, our certain type of spaces, just to achieve the so-called American dream. Then whenever we found that American dream, and when they seen that we were actually doing good, they came over here and they destroyed it. They destroyed all of our Black Wall Streets. I don't know what history book that you're reading, because y'all believe that slavery happened a long time ago. Slavery just ended recently.
To rebuke the Black people.
Hello, you beautiful souls. So, normally my platform is about joy, because we need it. But I feel the need to respond to this, and I probably don't need to respond to this, but it's irking me because he's not the only one. And he is giving credence to certain people who want to believe this anyway. And that is our problem. That's where I have a problem. First, good points about your video. Epic hoodie snatch off to reveal the supervillain haircut. That's not a diss. I'm seriously appreciative of that moment because I'm an anime fan and a comic book fan, and that fits in that genre really well. So let's just establish that. That was fire. But moving on past that to your points. Here's why you're wrong. And I'm saying this with as much love as I can. I don't want to put any venom in it. I really do not want to give you drama. You said you're complaining about slavery. First off, we're not complaining. You don't tell a victim they're complaining. We don't know where our homeland is. We don't know our last name, and we don't know our bloodlines. That is traumatic. That's by itself is traumatic. Our ancestors were raped, mutilated, stolen from in unpaid wages, and stolen from in land. That's trauma. And science bears it out as epigenetic trauma markers that we still suffer with. Black people and Black women more specifically suffer from something called weathering due to past epigenetic trauma and current racial and environmental traumas, which we also understand that there is in environmental issues. So let's just talk about that. I need you to go read up on this stuff because I'm not going to tell you where to go find it. Go look it up, baby. You smart. You can do this. You made that whole video. You can go read. Now, we're talking about a stream of abuses. Reconstruction era, post-Reconstruction era, Greenwood, Rosewood. Look up Lake Lanier. Go read, baby. Go read. Now, the other thing is current stuff, like the Colorado ranchers who are having their land stolen. So I want you to go read, because what you're doing is racial gaslighting, and it's not okay.
2023.
I'm not going to say you're an idiot. I'm just going to give you a book suggestion. Hold on. So this book is called The Color of Law, and it is written by a white man named Richard Rothstein. It was written, or it was published in 2018, and it's on Amazon for $12.53 or Kindle $7.99. So it's not that expensive. So this guy just won a little Pulitzer Prize. So take his information with a grain of salt if you want. But in the book, Rothstein describes how federal, state, and local governments systematically imposed residential segregation with undisguised racial zoning, public housing that purposely served previously mixed communities, subsidies for builders to create white-only suburbs, tax exemptions for prejudiced institutions, and support for violent resistance to African Americans in white neighborhoods. Rothstein also describes how police and prosecutors brutally upheld these standards and how such policies still influence tragedies like what took place in Ferguson and Baltimore and things like that. So maybe you don't understand chronology, and if you don't, just pause and read. So although you named all these privileges that Black Americans have coming from a very capitalistic, superficial mindset, doesn't negate the fact that Black Americans are still under a very oppressive system and we still have a lot of work to do. But it's so frustrating while in that process, during that process, there are ninjas like you who get online and throw a monkey wrench in the process because of how mentally fucked white supremacy has you. And to my fellow African Americans, don't let anyone tell you, Black or white, that systematic racism isn't real. We're very much still fighting for equality so that we can have equal equity.
You wants to come and deal with me on this one, bring it. I want all the smoke with you. You know who you want.
I'd like all the smoke. So my friend here is talking about basically Black people need to shut the hell up about slavery. I kind of agree with him. Let me explain. The resilience of Black people after slavery was freaking phenomenal. We still built Rosewood and Black Wall Street and businesses and communities and all that jazz, and without the whole acre and the mule thing. So no, I don't think we need reparations for slavery, but listen to this. We need reparations for everything that happened after. See, the thing is, when other people's issues ended, the Jews, and then the Holocaust and everything, it ended. With Black people, it didn't. So we'll just say from I think slavery ended in like 1864, somewhere right in there, but we'll say from 1868 to 1968, 100 years. 1968 is when Martin Luther King got killed. We experienced nothing but trauma. Our businesses were burned, our communities were torn up, Black Wall Street. And I personally believe that if Black Wall Street alone had survived, it would have changed the trajectory of the Black community as a whole. But back to the slavery part. I grew up in the South, and you see a lot of rebel flags. And obviously we've had conversations about it, and they find heritage in it. That's their heritage. They wear these rebel flags on their cars and sheet sets and all that because it's their heritage. So they're still connected to their heritage. And these same white people are telling us to not discuss the exact same period. And check this out. Growing up in the South, if I wanted to just forget about slavery, when you show me a rebel flag, that's going to remind me, right? And then these same people have the audacity to say, you weren't a slave. Why are you talking about it? Well, you weren't a Confederate soldier either, but you're still affected and you can find heritage in it. Now, to this TikToker, no, I wasn't a slave, but my grandmother's brother was hanged in Heflin, Alabama. That's 2 generations ago. My family was affected by that. My grandmother was affected by that. And let's not consider all the leaders and children and women and men that died from 1960 or 1868 to 1968 for our freedom. I don't want to forget that. Do you? That's my heritage. I'm still bothered by the 16th Street Baptist Church because those people's sisters and brothers, or those 4 little girls, their sisters and aunts and mothers, they're still alive in Birmingham. Jesse Jackson is still alive. Harry Belafonte, they're still alive. John Lewis just died the other day. My heritage. So, sir, you can't rebuke anybody. And is that an accent that I'm sensing? You shouldn't even be a part of this conversation, sir.
And talk about slavery constantly.
Bro, with that accent and that haircut, I'm going to call you Mr. T and Crumpets. Now listen, Mr. T and Crumpets, I don't know what your ancestry and your lineage is. I don't know how somebody with your skin complexion ended up with that accent. I'd venture a guess that you could probably trace your lineage back if you wanted to. Here's something that I think that you should probably know. Here in the United States, if you're a black person whose family has been here for multiple generations, you probably can't. You want to know why that is? Slavery! That's why, you fucking idiot. That's right, if you are a black American whose family has been in the United States for an extended period of time, you're probably the descendants of slaves. And that is a really, really harsh reality that I don't think this dickbag understands. I also sincerely doubt that he understands that slavery ended legally in 1865, but that we still allow slavery as a form of punishment for crimes, or how we insisted on, after slavery, still segregating blacks and whites for decades thereafter. I don't think that he's probably very well aware of the things and the racial violence. Black Wall Street, probably not aware of the fact that we asked black people to come fight during World War II. We promised them the Montgomery GI Bill, and we promised them the ability to be able to buy houses, and then we redlined them out of neighborhoods so they couldn't buy houses, and we wouldn't let them go to white institutions of education. Instead, we made them go to their black educational institutions, which we also underfunded. The fact that to this day, we are still constantly fighting about racial issues in voting and in education and in housing and in jobs and in discrimination in the workplace and in the government and in the way that police interact with black people. But yeah, bro, slavery is way too far in the past for us to be talking about it anymore. Speaking of stuff that's really fucking far in the past, your entire page is pretty much nothing but a dude from 2,000 years ago that you seem to believe had the truth in him. Meanwhile, a lot of other people are upset because of actual physical concrete harms that happened and are still happening to this day to them and their families from things that happened in just a couple of generations' time. So I joked at the beginning calling this asshole Mr. T and Crumpets, but that's really not fair to Mr. T. If you don't know why Mr. T wore the big gold chains and all the decorative jewelry that he wore, go watch an interview where he talks about it, because spoiler alert, it's to honor his slave ancestors. In closing, I'd like to share a quote from this fucking guy. Getting offended by something posted online is like choosing to step in dog shit instead of walking around it. Might want to check your shoes, buddy boy.
In the 21st century, and talk about slavery.
And I rebuke you and your gibberish, you agent of white supremacy. We didn't have to be there. Our ancestors were there. And if you don't have the common sense to comprehend the economic consequences of slavery that still affect melanated people across the globe till this day, I'll seriously question your intelligence. I don't know where you live, but where I live, melanated people have to work twice as hard for these comforts and opportunities that you speak of. Anyway, it's probably not too much nobody can say to you. You need to get a clue. And like Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
So of all the replies, all the people that replied, this particular man made several replies because I think that whole video struck a nerve. And some of the things he said.
You know that Coonesian with the bad haircut from yesterday? Who wants to parrot the words of white supremacists who tell everybody to get over slavery. I don't think he truly understands that slavery was just the jump off point. Yes, there are some black folks who will tell you about the atrocities during slavery. But before you get ready to say you were never a slave, I'm going to give you a date. I'm going to give you two of them, actually. And I'm only going to give the ending at 1965. You ready? 1928 to 1965. 1928 representing the year my father was born. 1936 to 1965. 1936 representing the year my mother was born. Look at how much tragic American history was going on between 1928, which is my father's year of birth, and 1965. Both of my parents were born in Dillon, South Carolina. Both of my parents were born during Jim Crow. Why the fuck I need to get in a DeLorean and go all the way back to fucking slavery when I just have to go in the lifetimes of the two people who created me? So many fucking people that say that bullshit seem to believe that once the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, black folks have just been cool ever since. Not realizing, again, this is my mother and father, not my grandparents, my actual fucking parents. You don't think I've heard these stories? You really honestly think I, being raised in a house with these two people, didn't hear these stories about racism? Blatant racism, calling grown black men boy, separate water fountains, separate bathrooms. I don't have to go all the way in a DeLorean to go to slavery. And here's the secret. Most black folks don't. They have family members, grandmothers, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts that were born in this exact same time, and they've heard these stories. Why the fuck do y'all always jump in the DeLorean and go all the way back to slavery? You don't want to talk about the mother 100 years between 1865 and 1965. This is why I want to debate that asshole so fucking bad. So bad. I can tell him stories and I never have to bring up slavery. 1928 to 1965. Think about it.
I mean, he had to talk about when his parents were born and all of that. And if you're to visualize it, it helped me understand like how the whole slavery and Jim Crow is not that far long ago. Some of the people that participated and witnessed some of these things are still alive today. They are still alive today. And people talk about these things as if it's something that happened, like maybe it's some folk tale that happened thousands of years ago. No. And I think the way the man was even coming out to say, I rebuke you, I'm like, maybe he performs exorcisms or something. Like, I don't understand. Who are you to rebuke people? And then a lot of people, even in the comment section and all of that, have told him, okay, let's go live so that we can have a discussion one-on-one. But he's not open to that. And I think because he knows that if he presents himself for a live discussion or all of that, he'll be flawed. Like, they will definitely break all his arguments. And that is the thing. When someone is not ready to reason with you or to understand where you're coming from, you just know that it's a lost cause. And that is why he's a coon, because he's okay in his ignorance and he feels like he's an authority on the subject talking about this. And you guys, it's just exhausting. Let me know what you think in the comment section about this whole thing. What do you think about what that man said? Please let me know in the comment section. Let's have a discussion. I'll definitely be reading. You guys teach me so much in the comment section, and I appreciate that. Thank you for always leaving those insightful comments in the comment section. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as well. Subscribe if you haven't. Also turn on notifications. That way YouTube will let you guys know whenever I drop a new video. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.